Good morning. Would I kill your Friday if I told you this is a cold call?
I mean, I love the opening, by the way. Look, I have 30 seconds, man. I can hear you out for sure. What is this about?
Perfect. Well, I'm actually a cold calling trainer, so I get invited by,
That's amazing.
it's even better. It's even better, right? A cold call about cold calling training. Um,
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. That's really good, actually. That's funny. No, that's good. Awesome. And what are you, like a consultant? You're just like on your own?
Yes, so if I mention that I typically get invited by sales leaders that basically they've noticed that either the salespeople are shying away from making the calls, so they
Mm.
try to hide on emails and LinkedIn, or alternatively, they are actually not challenging the status quo and objections from the prospects. And,
Yeah.
and, and either way, this is basically leading to not very good conversion rates and not enough new pipeline. Uh, but this might be the part where you tell me like you've got some phone assassins already, and then I have killed your Friday.
No, you haven't killed my Friday. And we do have some good phone assassins. We just built up our BDR team. And
Hmm.
funny enough, we're just going through a lot of that cold calling training on some of them because they're quite green, right? They came out of university, and
Hmm.
uh, but us as sales leaders have done a decent job to this day to bring them up to speed. But you know what? It could be nice to alleviate potentially some of that workload off of us from
Hmm.
an onboarding standpoint, right?
Hmm.
So if you email me what that, like, would you do one-off trainings? Like if we did like an hour session, like 2 hours or morning,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you work with the BDRs and the account executives, for instance, to just kind of provide some best practices and reinforce some of the messaging that we've been pushing.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, basically, I try to tailor it. I'm always more keen for longer trainings, just
Yeah, yeah.
because obviously its skill retention is higher, but it's something that we could perhaps discuss.
And you're
Like,
based in London?
I'm actually not. I'm actually not. If I told you I'm based outside, but I do work exclusively in the UK, what would you tell me?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Well, if you want, just email me what those trainings look like, and I can review with the rest of the commercial team, see if this is something we can worth pursuing.
Makes sense. And is the email,
Yeah,
is that correct?
yeah, that's
Okay. Do you mind if I ask a cheeky question before I do?
yeah. Go ahead.
Have you ever received an email that was better than a conversation?
No, I don't think so. To be fair, a lot of the cold emails I barely look at, which is cheeky because I send them out as well. So
Well, they're not punching through. And what does your training currently cover when the prospect says, "Can you please send me an email?"
when does recover training when I say please send an email? Well, man, to the point. It's got to be short and snappy, especially the clientele that we go after
Hmm.
are quite senior.
Hmm.
Um, so not some extensive white papers or anything. A one
Hmm.
pager, clear
Hmm.
and concise ask,
Hmm.
and usually because they're quite senior, push to have someone within their team to coordinate that intro meeting. It won't be the CRO.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, makes sense. So what I'm hearing is I basically should try as much as possible to keep you on the phone because realistically, why would you want your salespeople trained by someone that can't do that?
Well, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, to be fair, like where we where we get the most success is definitely not cold calling. It's at events. That is
Hmm.
like 100% a place where we really stand out,
Hmm.
just because we're in the room with over potential. That's where the thought leadership kind of stands out.
Hmm.
I think like if you take a look at clients and what we do, it's quite technical. It's they would be using it within a bank as well, and yeah, the people we target are quite senior. So keep that in mind when.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Do you mind if I ask an even cheekier question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, do you think that cold calling isn't as effective just because the way the market is, or perhaps because also that the sellers don't really know how to handle conversations with these more senior executives?
Um, no, I'd say cold calling is better than cold emailing, and events is better than the two above, right?
Of course.
Uh,
Yeah.
when we do the cold call, we wouldn't go. I mean, we're not going to try and get a hold of the chief risk officer, right? Like that's going to,
Yeah.
like they're. We try to go perhaps a bit more junior, where they tend to perhaps work more closely with the data and more in line with the seniority of, let's say, our BDRs and account executives. If we were to CRO, and we would elevate it to SL for the CEO of the company, kind of try to open those doors. So we're a bit scrappy on that front.
It sounds like you already have a pretty good strategy. I mean, you're working your way up the ladder, and that's for sure. So look, I mean, based on what we just discussed, would it be a terrible idea to set some time aside and actually see what is it that I might be able to do to help? And then, if you think by the end I'm talking nonsense, we just never talk again.
Like booking in the call right now. It would be a lot. I think like here until year end, if you can send me some materials, and I know it sounds like every other cold call, send me the materials and then I'll review with the team and then I'll never get back to you. But we are planning our trainings for next year, and I do need to connect with the rest of my team, right? So I'm moving to the US and I'll become the sales director there, and then
Nice.
our good team here will be director here. So we are coordinating in the next couple of weeks as to what those trainings are going to be, and we're quite adamant on having them on a at least a monthly basis, in the sense that where we would bring in some external help, and I think that's where there's an opportunity to potentially bring you in.
Okay, makes sense. So
send me. You can be annoying. You can send me the resources, and then you can pester me with follow-ups, and I'll get back.
I mean, that's a fair deal. What if I do this? I'll send you a connection request on LinkedIn right now. I'm also going to drop you an email. What I'm concerned with is that I want to share some content with you, because I do quite a lot of it, as you'll see from my LinkedIn. And via email is a nightmare because it'll go to spam 99%. So let me drop you a connection request on LinkedIn. Then I'll try to send you an email. And then would you mind penciling something in for next year as a follow-up? Not like I'll just send you a placeholder. I'll call you, because at least it's going to be easier to get you to actually pick up the phone. And then if you think it's nonsense, then again, we don't have to talk again.
All right. That sounds good. And what's your name, by the way?
I'm Giulio Segantini.
Giulio, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'll do that now. And do you mind if I ask one last weird question?
All right, let's go.
What's your favorite pizza topping?
My favorite pizza topping? Man, I'm a pretty classic guy. I'd say pepperoni. That's the North American,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know what? I do love a good burrata. Good burrata on pizza also quite nice.
Well, yeah, Christ, yeah. I don't think there's anything that burrata doesn't go well with, basically.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe lactose intolerance. But that's a bit different. So what I'll do is I'll drop you a connection request on LinkedIn. I'm actually going to do that now. And then I'm going to send you an email titled Pepperoni, so it doesn't get lost in your inbox. And then I'll share some extra content with you. And would the second week of Jan be a good time to call you back?
Yeah, that's a good time to call me back.
Okay, so if I send a placeholder, let's say 4 p.m. on the 14th, would that work?
Sure. Yeah, do it up. It's fine.
Okay, perfect. Well, I wish you a great day.
Yeah, you as well, Giulio.
Cheers.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.